Hi, my name is Tyler Williamson. I'm the forester for Morgan and Berkeley counties in West Virginia, and my office is in Inwood, West Virginia. They will provide my email and contact information. I gave them my business card, so I'm here to answer questions and do site visits.
And what are some of the typical questions that you've gotten and that you're available to answer for property owners?
I get a lot of questions about trees that people have planted in past years, why they're not growing in some cases, sick trees, older trees that people are concerned about. Definitely the trees that people are worried about falling on their house. I'm willing to take a look at those trees, but with the caveat that I'm not an arborist, so I'm not an expert on tree decay or tree diseases, but I do know a fair bit about it.
And I think there's some people here now, they're off camera, but they have some questions for you.
Just what's the general health?
So the question is about the general health of the forest. And to me, the forest here is what I would call an impacted forest, just because it's got roads and houses and firewood cutting, and with that comes an increased deer population, so they have impacted the forest. But I wouldn't call it an overall unhealthy forest, for sure. It's a healthy forest. It could use help, and one of the biggest things, in my opinion, is the deer population. If that could be reduced, that would help the understory start to come back a little bit.
What are the actions that property owners can take on their land to help maybe improve the health?
The question is, what actions can property owners take to improve the health? And that really kind of depends on your specific lot. Of course, creating openings in a stand, if you have trees that are decaying or dying and you want to cut them to let more light in, that's going to help more growth get started. My fear here is that the deer come in and eat that as fast as it pops back up. So, but the bigger the opening, the more chance you can overwhelm the deer. Not many people want to create huge openings around their vacation home, though. So.
When you do the managed deer hunts and you've been able to do a little tree planting, are those the kinds of things you recommend, or are there others that?
So the question is about the managed deer hunt and about tree plantings, and yeah, those are great things to do. The tree plantings, especially here in the common area, seem to be focused, well, some of them are focused where there's a lot of sunlight, specifically this oak tree. Some are in shade a little bit more, but these trees that you're planting now hopefully will be the ones that people are enjoying 75 years from now.
Are there other important things we can do to promote growth of underbrush and saplings?
If you are so inclined, you know, the forest has an overstory, a midstory, and an understory, and you can remove the understory. That lets more light in and allows some sprouts to come up. But there's not a whole lot you can do with it on these small lots and with the deer pressure that you're getting.
So if we continue to address the deer situation through the managed hunts, and then, so that's one way is that something that you're suggesting that we continue to do?
The managed hunts are definitely would be beneficial to the forest, yes.
And then is there a limitation that you usually recommend, like that you don't allow more than a certain amount of deer to be taken during the hunt, or?
Well, I'm not a wildlife manager, so I really can't answer that. To me, it seems like the population's high enough to where you're not going to impact it severely by this hunt. But
okay,
again, not a deer manager.
And if people want to know on their particular property about, we're talking about the overstory and the midstory and the understory, is that something that you discuss on a site visit?
Yeah, it's a lot easier for me if you have questions on a look at the site and we can talk about it out there, because really every lot is a little bit different in here. Some of them are down here along the river bottom, and some of them are up on, shaly ridges. Um, some people have been pretty active in removing trees over the years, and some haven't been touched. So, site visit would be the way to go.
And some people on their properties have like wet weather streams or other sort of waterways. Do you take a look? Can you take a look at those while you're there?
Yeah, we can look at all the resource concerns that you would have, and that would include the creeks, definitely.
I guess most of us are interested in maintaining our, beautiful forests and having a good place for wildlife to live.
Right.
We read one article that suggested that the dead trees are really important to the wildlife.
Uh-huh.
Is that correct?
Yeah, the question is about dead trees and their importance to wildlife, and yes, they're very important to wildlife. If you can leave a dead tree, that's great. A lot of the questions I get are about dead trees right around people's houses, and that's a totally different situation, because I always tell people, if you can't sleep at night because you're worried about a tree falling, just go ahead and take it out, because it's not worth losing sleep over.
Some people are concerned about the amount of brush that's in on their property, from a fire perspective, and then other people think that it should be left because you need that for the organic matter in the forest. And so is that something that you can discuss with landowners so that they sort of get a sense of, should we take this out, should we be leaving it in, or the circumstances on their property?
Yeah, so in related to fire safety, I will send people to the Firewise website. It's firewise.org, I think, and it talks a lot about what you can do around your house for fire safety. And we think of it in zones from your house. So the zone with the first 30 feet or whatever, you really don't want to have much flammable stuff at all. So all your understory would be, taken out if it's not yard already. A lot of houses have a little bit of grass around them. But yeah, you think of it as a zone away from your house, and you want to treat the vegetation, as you get closer to your house, you want to treat it more intensely. But if you can leave the underbrush further out away from your house, that's fine. That is good for wildlife. It depends on how many acres you have and all that kind of stuff, whether it's invasive brush or natural.
So you mentioned invasive brush. Is that something else that you can address if you're on site with someone about what invasive species they may already have on their home, and anything they can do to address that?
Yeah, besides sick trees, I would say invasive trees are probably the second most popular question, I guess. People want to know how to get rid of their tree of heaven, or their barberry, or their stilt grass. So I get those calls a lot.
So stilt grass isn't a tree, though, right? It's not an invasive.
Stilt grass is a grass, and I know everybody probably has seen it. Some people don't know what it's called, but it's very prevalent around here.
And it's an invasive species, not native?
It's invasive, yeah. It's from China.
I was just going to say, we have stilt grass on a very steep hillside. Is there any good solution for that stuff?
No, and stilt grass is a curse, but it's also a blessing at times, because it does cover up areas that would otherwise erode severely. It'll grow where other things won't grow sometimes, and it'll come in very quickly. But for very steep areas like that, you could look at maybe a shrub kind of cover or something. But the grass, if you have a problem with grass seed washing to the bottom, you need to think about some shrubs or something like that. Again, maybe a site visit and where I could see it and look at it more specifically.
Cool.
Does anybody have any other questions? Are there any other frequently asked questions that you get that you would like to address now?
Like I said, mostly the sick tree questions, invasive species, people asking how to improve hunting. Can't think of any general ones.
Do the dead leaves on the ground eventually decompose and enrich it?
So the question is about dead leaves, and yes, the dead leaves do become soil eventually. So, but we still, for fire-wise, recommend that you push those back away from, the foundation of your house. And a great way to do that is with a leaf blower. Get them back into the woods a little bit, but they are beneficial. You don't want to take them off site if you don't have to. So.
We really appreciate you coming out here, and we're going to make your contact information available so that people can contact you and to do their site visits.
Sounds good.